My friends, I must ask, has anyone considered the sheer improbability, the rank absurdity of Drizzt Do'Urden? Has any discerning reader, any remotely sensible player ever paused to question how we've come to tolerate, much less idolize, this drow deserter and his impossible escape from the Underdark? A place known for its sheer hostility, an ecosystem and society so perfectly engineered to make freedom a concept as alien as daylight itself. Let's begin with the issue of plausibility, or rather the implausibility that drips from every line of Drizzt's story. We're meant to believe that a male drow, born to a house and culture that equates subservience and brutality with survival, somehow conjures up a moral compass in a society that surgically removes such weakness at birth. Imagine, if you will, the very notion of a male in Menzoberranzan, that blood-soaked Machiavellian metropolis of sadism and deceit, suddenly deciding to rise up in moral protest. It's akin to claiming that a loyal member of the Inquisition would spontaneously renounce the faith and stroll out of the torture chambers in search of sunshine and charity. One may suspend disbelief when elves are involved, but must it be hanged, drawn, and quartered? What's more, Drizzt doesn't merely wish to leave, he succeeds in doing so. He sneaks past guards, some of whom are the most ruthless and highly trained killers in the multiverse. He slips away from a city that's fortified by layers of monstrous guardians, magical wards, and a paranoid nobility who would notice if a single spider was out of place. The story asks us to believe that he not only evades all of this, but makes his way through the Underdark, a hostile labyrinth teeming with unspeakable horrors, none of which apparently affect him, to become this lone wolf, this vigilante of virtue who appears in the most laughably idealized form on the surface. Forgive me if I don't stand up and applaud, I can barely keep from laughing. If Drizzt's implausible survival isn't enough, let us consider the absurd power fantasy that he represents in the game adaptations, such as in Baldur's Gate. Anyone who has dared to approach him in that game knows well the inevitable, crushing defeat that follows. Drizzt is designed as a challenge, a gatekeeping colossus meant to humble would-be adventurers. But consider this. For what purpose? His overpowered nature in the game mirrors the unearned reverence he's given in the lore. He's wielded by the game's designers with a kind of perverse enjoyment, punishing players for daring to test themselves against the great Drizzt. The message is clear: he is untouchable, he is unimpeachable, and he is, most importantly, inescapable. This leaves us with a problem. Drizzt Do'Urden is not merely implausible, he is infectious in his implausibility. His very presence, with its impossibly virtuous center and its unearned triumph over adversity, threatens the integrity of the lore. Forgotten Realms is a place of struggle and complexity, where survival itself is a dark art. Drizzt defies this entirely. He coasts through challenges, emerges unscathed from perils that would obliterate any sensible character, and inflicts himself upon the player in a display of might that is as patronizing as it is unnecessary. Drizzt's escape from the Underdark undermines the very nature of the Underdark itself. It should be a realm that swallows hope, that punishes even the thought of rebellion with swift and brutal consequences. Drizzt's existence is a cartoonish aberration within this setting, a clear rupture of narrative integrity in favor of some simplistic morality play. His character is nothing short of an affront to the realism that makes the setting so compelling. So, what do we do with Drizzt? I propose a simple solution, one that may at first seem harsh, but is, upon reflection, perfectly reasonable. We must purge him from the lore. Yes, I said purge. His presence dilutes the potency of the Underdark, reduces the drow to a convenient set of one-dimensional antagonists who serve only to highlight his supposed goodness, and, in the case of games like Baldur's Gate, inflicts unnecessary frustration on players who would prefer to spend their time on meaningful quests. If we wish to preserve the thematic strength of the Forgotten Realms, then we must eliminate this implausible, insufferable aberration from it. In doing so, we free ourselves to imagine a drow society where freedom isn't a ludicrous fantasy, where escape is recognized for the near impossibility it should be, and where the drow are respected as complex, morally ambiguous creatures, not merely as foils to Drizzt's misplaced heroism.